Well, hi everyone. I haven't done one of these for a while, so thought I'd give it a go. And this is basically my speedrun alternative account, where I'm just basically a bit more educational than Title Tuesday, but I've been building up my rating right from the start and showing typical mistakes that people make at different rating ranges, and basically how you should become a better chess player. And we're now around the 2200 range, so we're gonna concentrate on things that you should avoid and things you should do. And we'll play the black line opening, why not? And I don't think we've lost many games in this account yet, and of course that could change. We've played a lot of cheats, but my opponent should know by now that if they're cheating, there's a good danger they'll be thrown off. And it's also nice to play against a computer now and again. And at the moment we're just playing the black line. So every opening I use in my Title Tuesday or my speed runs I've looked at before, I've studied. You can go to GingerGM.com to pick an opening that will suit you, or to Chessbrah. It's good to have the basics. And in the black line, the first stage is this: get your knights out, control this point. And now we've got to just give our king the opportunity to castle, whilst being aware of what our opponent is trying to do. And normally with this setup, white tries to castle queenside. Now we always look at our opponent's last move, and with that move it seems the knight may well try to come around here. I'm going to castle, and one standard way to meet this idea is to tuck the bishop back to f8. So rook e8 and bishop f8 sort of secures things over there. But now my opponent again is changing plans and intending queenside castling. So when we have opposite side castling, we've got to attack our opponent's king on that part of the board. So here I'm going to play this move, which aims to start a pawn storm if my opponent castles over on the queen side. It also controls some central squares, and here I think we should start that pawn storm. This is a standard approach, throwing pawns at your opponent's king in the hope that you open up some lines. My opponent is also starting an attack on this side of the board, so very interesting position already. Now I'm sure he's going to move his knight here next, and I don't really want this knight having this square, so I think it's probably a good time to kick this knight, because now it has to go to either a passive square or a vulnerable square rather than a central square with potential. Now this square looks very risky to me for white, because it can be attacked by my queen, sometimes the knight, and even sometimes the bishop. And I'm going to bring my queen over to the queen side, where my opponent's king is, to threaten that knight. And my opponent stops that for now. But here, again, my attack is coming quite quickly. If I can get rid of this knight, my queen's going to be doing quite well. So I'm going to try to get rid of this knight in the most forceful way possible by moving my knight to b6. One thing we'll do after this game is see where either of us have gone wrong and try to work out how we can improve on that. And now my opponent is aiming at, he's playing very quickly, which seems a little bit strange in a 10-minute game in such a complex position. And in this position he's aiming to get rid of this pawn, but moving pawns in front of your king, very risky, because you open up your king. And my first thought is, well, now I should try to get the bishop in, so maybe move the pawn here. And I think I'm going to do that, because even though he can take a pawn, when my knight drops back, I'm not worried about material, because again it's opposite side castling. I'm much more worried about the attack. And after this move I also have knight takes a4, so I have to do a little bit of calculating. I'm not really calculating much at this moment in time. And here my opponent has dived in with his knight. Okay, so he's threatening to go pawn takes pawn. He's blocking my bishop, so I think now I should take his pawn. If his queen captures, I can take on a2. And again, I'm just trying to open up where his king is, whilst my king remains totally safe as much as possible without really taking too many risks. And now that he's taken with a knight, I now, this knight is very strong. I think I'm going to have to take it. And it also gives me ideas of going d4 there. And again, I'm not really calculating at all in this game. I'm just playing very logical moves. That knight is good. I want to get rid of that knight. I don't see any other very useful moves for me either. I mean, actually, pawn takes pawn could be quite good, couldn't it? Because if he goes bishop takes, then I win the piece. So pawn takes pawn is definitely worth considering. This is the only other move worth considering. He can take with the queen. Now, that position feels like I should have a good move, but I can't see it. This check looks okay, but pawn takes pawn, queen takes. I can move the knight back here to get rid of the blockader, and it's either that position I'm going for or bishop takes here and then d4. And actually, I've just seen there might be some ideas he moves his knight at some point. I'm going to play this one. Again, I'm opening up more lines, but I'm forcing his queen to what I think might be quite a vulnerable square. This knight is still the pain. This knight is still the problem piece. I'll improve the lighting for the next video. I'm not sure why. I just realised the lighting of this video is quite bad. I apologise for that, but hey ho. Don't look at me. Look at the chessboard. So I want to get rid of this knight, and this knight is on the right area of the board where his king is. So I'm going to move this guy out of the way. I'm going to keep this check as a possibility. Let's say he goes b4. I can go check, and I'm trying to get rid of a piece that will allow one of my pieces in, and I'm also I also have bishop f6, right? So another good reason to move this knight away. But so far, that the whole, I think why I like my position is just king safety. My opponent's castle queen side, then he played this knight a4 move, quite risky, and he started playing pawn moves in front of his king. Like I mentioned before, even if he wins a pawn, it might not be good enough because he's opening up his most precious piece, his king. And you've got to respect your king and how your king is positioned. And now my opponent has a difficult choice to make. Does he try to keep that square contained with a move like b4, allowing my queen in? Does he take here, allowing my bishop at some point to come in? I'm never worried about him taking on d5 because, again, even if I lose a pawn on that square, he's opening up more lines towards his king. My king has the free bodyguards, the free pawns protecting it. So you've probably noticed in a lot of these videos, these speedrun videos, I actually don't do much deep calculation. And in chess, the more you can calculate, the better, especially as you get more advanced and the games become more, against better players, and tactics are key. You need to calculate, but you can go a long way from just having some basic understanding. So my opponent's now moved his knight away, but that knight is now on a bit of a clumsy square, I think, as well. And the first move I'm looking at is now switching my bishop over this way, but I've got lots of interesting moves. Bishop coming here, pawn coming up. Oh, there's so many good moves here. Now pawn coming up looks pretty good with d4. Bishop here is good as well though, but if bishop there, his queen comes back, I'm not winning a piece. Surely here and then d4 is the way to play. Let's go for it. I think it's got to be good. This pawn is well defended, and I'm just using these two pawns to create a basic fork. Again, only calculating a couple of moves ahead here. I'm not calculating deeply at all in this position. And my opponent has just, again, his problems have been putting his pieces, starting with the knight a4, putting it on a loose square. Don't put your pieces on loose squares where your opponent has control of the board. I was concentrating on the queen side. I have control of the queen side. My opponent puts a piece on the area of the board where he's very loose, the queen side. That is not a good idea. And then next he started playing b3 and c3, and that just makes his king very open to ideas. He's trying to move again. Don't really, if you're weakest on an area of the board, you've got to try to control it as much as you can. But he should have been, you know, trying to attack me, trying to get his own initiative going, play on the area of the board he's strongest. He's strongest on the king side, get his knight around. And he never did that in this game. Now I think I can just play d4. Knight comes in, I can check, I can take, and I can win a piece. So this is, I think, very natural. Knight takes knight, so he has come in, but oh, he's got bishop takes. Well, I missed that move. That is a little bit silly of me. Well, I say a little bit, very silly. Can we do something a bit more? I mean, that has made my whole. This is why you got to calculate a bit further ahead. Can we sack the queen here? Keep it very interesting. Takes here, queen takes queen, knight takes here. Because I want to keep the initiative. I don't think we can. We've got to try to play the best moves. Now this knight is too strong, so I'm just got to eliminate it. And I've got to realise, in chess, you're going to get quite frustrated. You're going to make mistakes. I was a little bit blasé there, wasn't I? Now we've got a whole new game ahead of us. Because his bishop's coming to c4, he's blocking things up, and this is not as winning as it should be. The move I miss is bishop takes d2. So another thing you've got to do is not get downhearted. You're going to miss stuff in chess. Hopefully it's not a big blunder. I didn't blunder. Even if you do, you've got to try to refocus the mind, and you just got to not. One thing is, it's a very psychological game, and one thing that I still do, and I think a lot of players do, which is a horrendous mistake, is to think of ifs and buts. Maybe in life as well, right? Why do I do that? Why do I get drawn into this? You know, that was a mistake. You got to get on with it, and you can't think I should have done that at this stage, because that is not going to help you. It's gone, you know. And that famous saying of not having regrets is important. So I've just got to get on with this position, and I've still got this weak pawn to play against. So I'm just going to try and win that pawn. That still looks like a very good idea. Bishop c4. I could go b5 and take the pawn, but can I win it for free with bishop c4, rook d8? He can attack my bishop on f8. My bishop comes here. He can move his rook in here, and then I got rook d. Okay, I think we should do this anyway. I want this square for my bishop just in case. Okay, so he's going in here, trying to come to c7. Keep an eye on what our opponent's trying to do at all times. Now bishop d6 might be the safest way to make some exchanges, but let's have a look. I've got time, I can calculate this. So here, bishop c7. Now if I take there, he does win the exchange. So here, bishop c7, rook here, bishop takes here, bishop takes c4, pawn takes, rook b7, winning a piece. So bishop here, rook d7. He can't take on b6. He's got to take here first. So let's have a look at this. Take it's here, rook d7. So I'm having to calculate here. Takes here. And then I have to take the bishop on d5 because my rook on a8. And then he goes bishop takes here. Now, if it seems like he's... Okay, I'm going to go for this because I don't win a pawn. Bishop d6 might have won a pawn. But his bishop on b6, it seems a little bit exposed. I'm not going to calculate any further because I'm running out of time. But I do have a strong passed pawn. And if he does go for this move, takes, bishop takes here, his bishop is very exposed. I'm just wondering if I can take advantage, bishop being exposed on this square. c4 doesn't quite work because he takes and he attacks my rook. So we've got to play this line. And now here takes, like I say, attacks my rook. So after bishop takes here, what else can we do? I mean, I can kick the bishop away. I can go here, then go c4, but it's not as strong as I thought. What about I play this move? And again, I'm not a great game for me by any means, but this move, I want to tie his rook down, and it gives me this option of putting my bishop over here. So I'm trying to combine queenside activity, maybe some things with his loose bishop, tie him down with my d pawn, and even some attacking ideas with this, and c4 still seems like a move I want to play at some point to try and open up his king, but I don't know how I get this move to work well. So if he goes something like rook here, check, king b1, got to watch out my back rank. Maybe I just play a move like h6 or g6 and say, okay, let's just wait a move before we try to do something. But yeah, it's certainly not as clear as maybe it should be. Because he could also move his rook to this square then, and my pawn, if it comes here, I'm hoping my pawn's always going to be alright, but it's not necessarily the truth. So rook here, I think he's got to bring his pieces into the game. Looks, to my eyes, very, very natural. And then I think I put my bishop on the most active square. So his king's come here. This is a brave move, where he's trying to come in. Okay, well, I'm going to check it. I don't want to lose the d3 pawn. And now I'm going to check it again, because I can always win this pawn and keep my d3 pawn, unless there's a stronger move here, like check. I can't, then he just goes king here, and that doesn't seem to help. So I'm going to get my pawn back, keep my d pawn, and my rooks are very active here. If he goes g5, I think I have a check, and I can take that pawn, because g5 is trying to divert my rook away, the bishop away from the rook. And I've still got this d pawn, so I still like my position. I mean, I'll probably h6 as a move. If I get very short a time, I'll try to play. So I think I'm going to play that when I get my rook out of trouble. We'll give the check. I want to keep the rooks on the board because my rook is very active. Maybe I should have taken again and pushed. That could have been stronger. But I'm trying to also combine ideas against his king. And now another point is that I can take here. And let's just make sure the only way we're going to lose this is by getting attacked on the back rank. So just give the king a breathing space, and now it should be pretty easy, because this pawn, which seemed to be a key component, is coming through. And yeah, of course it's lost here. So we'll have a look afterwards, and the whole point of these speedrun videos is trying to give you little bits of advice how you can become a better player at whatever level you are. And obviously we're at like 2300 level now, so if you're a lot lower rated, then go back to the earlier videos. This is speedrun video 51, so if you're just starting out in chess, you can go right back to the first speedrun video and check it out there and see how you are. And my opponent does resign, so good stuff. And we don't even need to look at the computer when we're analyzing. I would, when you've done a game which is a bit of a longer time limit, I would consider using the computer. But maybe what you should do first is analyze it with your own thoughts, because you can often just look at the computer without really thinking. You're not really thinking. You've got to think, well, I kind of know where I went wrong. What can I have done? And first of all, the opening. So the opening is this black line where the first four moves are knight here and pawn here. Now, if very aggressive opening. I've got a chess ball course on this if you want to know more. And now you adapt generally for what your opponent does. But stage 2 is normally get your bishop out. You don't always castle. You don't need to castle. But you normally go bishop here, c6, and often queen c7. But I didn't need to do that here. First of all, it seemed like castling was an option I wanted to keep, so I'm just keeping it flexible, so I do castle. And now my opponent plays queen d2, so I prepared this queenside play. We've looked at this before. And here, my opponent played g4. I don't think there's anything too terrible with that. And now before this knight can come into the center, so his next move is definitely going to be knight g3. And then if I attack the knight, that knight can go to a more central square. I give him this dilemma. So this is actually an important first point. You've got to, in chess, give your opponent as many questions as you can. You see at the top level that games are very often drawn because each player is often asking their opponent the question, and because they're great players, they're able to answer the question. But it's all about trying to make your opponent make a mistake in chess. And this move is giving my opponent the opportunity to make a mistake. I think I'm probably all right here anyway, but I don't like this move. I think he should have moved his knight back here. At least his knight is a lot safer. Yes, I can go queen here. Yes, this still looks quite nice, but even if I win that pawn, it's only a pawn. He keeps the king relatively safe. He's got moves like a3 here, trying to keep things under control. And it's quite hard. I mean, I play like rook b8 or something, or d5, and my position's quite nice, but it's quite hard to ever move this pawn. And now he can get a bit of time to go around here. Putting a piece on a loose square, be very, very careful. And the only way he can defend that is by playing a move in front of his king. And now after knight b6, already I think he's in quite a lot of trouble because this queen is threatening to come down. I made this mistake later on, but I'm just trying now to liberate all of my pieces. So here, taking the pawn, I think would be a mistake because he could swap queens. I don't want to swap queens here because his king is weaker than mine. So this is a good move. It's allowing my bishop into the game. Again, even if he wins a pawn, I don't mind. My knight drops back. My knights are very good. My bishop's coming in. I have a big attack. So, yes, I did make this mistake later on, but I probably should have played something else here. What should I have played here? This was a key position, and I should have spent a bit more time. My time management was not great here. Maybe this was the right move to play in the position with a big attack still, and I don't want to exchange queens, which I had to do in the game, and it's a different game. So okay, so I mean my moves are pretty simple. At the end my opponent went wrong again. He played all right in parts, but I just basically kept the pressure on him, and that's what you got to do. Keep the pressure on your opponent. Get your king safe. Quite basic things. Open up the position when it suits you. Open up the area of the board where your opponent's king is. My opponent didn't really realize how dangerous this b4 idea was. He played knight a4 too quickly. He didn't concentrate on getting any he didn't really have any fun. He played g4. That was about the only fun move he was able to play. He should have concentrated on just get the knight back and having some fun. Even if it's a bit iffy, go for it. And we gained some more points. Let me know if you found this video useful, and we'll try to do more of these. I'll try to at least keep going until I get to 2500 in this speed run course. So make sure you like and subscribe and look at the previous videos if you want to get better.